Today, we will unveil extraordinary and moving stories of foreign and Ukrainian fighters who left everything behind and joined the fight in the war against Russia. Who were these brave men and women? What motivated them to risk their lives in a distant country? Get ready to discover acts of bravery that defy imagination and sacrifices that touch the heart. Each story is a journey of determination, courage, and hope. Stay with me until the end of the video and immerse yourself in these stories of sacrifice and honor. Yevgeny Stafovich, call sign Staff, is a Ukrainian soldier who suffered a severe injury on the battlefield in eastern Ukraine in July 2014. On that day, Staff was in combat near Mariinka, a city in the Donetsk region, when he was severely wounded. He was rushed to the city of Mariupol, but there was no vascular surgeon available. Due to the injury, part of Yevgeny's leg was amputated, and he had slim chances of survival. Later, during his recovery, Staff received a low-quality prosthesis. Despite all the difficulties, Yevgeny Stafovich managed to return to service in the ranks of the armed forces of Ukraine. Since February 24, 2022, he has been defending Ukraine again and has been involved in several military operations, including battles near Kiev, in the Kharkiv region, and in eastern Ukraine. Yevgeny Stafovich is widely recognized as a hero for his determination and courage. His story is often highlighted as an example of resilience and patriotism. Stephen Keith Monroe, a native of Tacoma, Washington, always wanted to pursue a military career. Stephen Monroe worked in private security and met his fiancée, Adrienne Perry, who was a park ranger. He also worked as a firearms instructor. According to his fiancée, Monroe was a man passionate about history and fascinated by war. He wanted to serve in the U.S. Armed Forces, but his criminal record from his youth hindered him. Court records show convictions for illegal firearm possession, harassment, and other charges. Unable to pursue a military career, Monroe joined the French Foreign Legion when he was 20, where he served for 5 years. When the war in Ukraine began, Stephen Monroe saw an opportunity for redemption and joined the Ukrainian International Legion in March 2022. Stephen Monroe entered combat in Kharkiv and realized that strategy and firearm skills were useless against Russian artillery. As his unit started losing people, he became somber and talked about returning home. Stephen Monroe was gravely injured and died in a military hospital in Kharkiv on October 5, 2022, at 33 years old. His mother and fiancé traveled to Ukraine to say goodbye, but he had already passed away when they arrived. Legion soldiers told them that a grenade exploded near Monroe, lodging shrapnel in his brain. However, while holding one of his arms in the morgue, his fiancé felt a well-defined hole that seemed to be the result of a bullet. To this day, Adrienne Perry believes that her fiancé was a victim of friendly fire. Alla Viktorivna Taranina and her husband, Lieutenant Vitaly Taranin, left Krasnohorivka in the Donetsk region in an old car in 2014 because they did not want to be under Russian rule. In civilian life, Alla worked as a hairdresser and manicurist. In 2014, the couple joined the Azov Regiment almost from its inception. At first, Alla worked in the kitchen and then enlisted in the military, being hired as a clerk. Vitaly handled financial documents. Their son, Danilko, was born in 2019, and in 2022, with the start of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, he was taken by his grandfather. The couple, now military personnel in the Azov Regiment, was sent to the front lines where they participated in the battles for Mariupol. On April 15, 2022, Vitaly Taranin died during the shelling of the Azovstal plant. 3 weeks later, on May 8, 2022, a Russian air-dropped glide bomb collapsed 4 floors of the bunker where Alla Taranina was at the Azovstal plant. He was 36 years old, and she was 33. Samuel Newey is a young British man who, shortly after turning 21, was driven by a sense of justice following the Russian invasion of Ukraine. His decision to go to Ukraine was marked by a strong sense of morality and courage. Before going to Ukraine, Samuel and his father, Paul Newey, faced terrorism charges in the UK for allegedly helping Samuel's brother, Daniel Newey, who joined the Kurdish militia YPG and was fighting against ISIS in Syria. The charges were eventually dropped after a review by the Crown Prosecution Service. When he arrived in Ukraine, Samuel Newey joined the Dark Angels unit, and after its dissolution, he worked for Ukrainian intelligence. On August 30th, 2023, Samuel Nui was killed in combat against Russian troops while fighting alongside Ukrainian forces in the eastern part of the country. He was 22 years old. The brothers Roman and Leonid Butusin are of Russian ethnicity, and together with their parents, brothers, and sisters, moved to Ukraine in 2014. Their parents, Oleg and Tetiana Butusina, and their 10 children moved from Vladivostok in southeastern Russia and settled near the city of Kalush in the Ivano-Frankivsk region. 6.5 thousand miles separated the family from their past life. The brothers Roman and Leonid Butusin were very close and dreamed of becoming soldiers from an early age. In 2019, their sister Anna was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and Roman and Leonid went to work in Poland to help pay for their sister's treatment. Upon returning to Ukraine, the brothers signed a contract with the 58th Brigade. The boys fought in Donbass, and before the full-scale war, they didn't even have time to take a vacation to see their relatives. In February 2022, 4 men from the Russian Butusin family went to defend Ukraine: Oleg Butusin and his sons Roman, Leonid, and Hrihori, who was not even 18 at the time. Roman and Leonid were in the same brigade as their father. Roman and Leonid Butusin served as snipers and grenade launcher assistants in the defense of the Chernihiv region. During a clash in March 2022, they were reported missing. Their bodies were found by their father on March 30th, after the liberation of the village of Lukashivka, where they had been killed in combat. Roman was 24 years old, and Leonid was 21. The Butusin brothers were awarded the title of Heroes of Ukraine on July 8, 2023, for their bravery and courage during the defense of Lukashivka and the destruction of enemy equipment. The family, already large, decided to adopt 2 more children after the deaths of their sons, using part of the financial compensation to help the local community, including improvements in hospitals and schools. Natalia Depa was born in Lviv in 1992, and since childhood she was an energizer. She was always friendly, smiling, quick to help when needed, and had a deep love for animals. Her brother is 7 years younger than her, so she was not just his older sister but also acted as a mother, taking care of him when their parents were at work. Natalia's leadership qualities began to manifest in kindergarten. She graduated as a veterinarian, worked as a surgeon, and saved the lives of many animals. Later, she received a second higher education as a cosmetologist and opened her own cosmetic center. When Russia invaded Ukraine, Natalia closed her successful beauty salon and followed her father Roman and her brother Ivan into the ranks of the armed forces of Ukraine. Natalia's father, Roman Depa, is a hunter and taught his children how to use firearms. Natalia Depa chose the call sign Vitaminka and started her combat career in the Kharkiv region. Then came the defense of the Sumy and Donetsk regions. As part of the 218th Separate Battalion, she rescued soldiers in Bakhmut, Chasiv Yar, and Kostiantynivka. She was the head of the paramedic post. On July 9, 2023, Natalia Depa was killed in action while performing a mission to rescue wounded soldiers in the Bakhmut region. David Baturin was born in Kiev, Ukraine, on May 20, 1997, but his family moved to the United States when he was 2 years old, and he was raised in Columbus, Ohio. He enlisted in the Navy in December 2019 and became an air traffic controller trainee, according to his service history in the Marine Corps. David Baturin left the Marines in March 2022 as a Lance Corporal. Before joining the Navy, Baturin also served in the Air Force Reserve. Baturin attended church and participated in Bible studies, as well as youth mentoring. When the war began, David Baturin decided not to sit back and just watch the suffering and pain of the Ukrainian people, who are also his people and his homeland, on television. He left for Ukraine and joined the country's armed forces as a volunteer. On October 7, 2023, David Baturin was killed by a Russian bombardment while fighting alongside Ukrainian soldiers. He was 26 years old. Oleksandr Chaika, 33, worked as a children's choreography coach in Kyiv. When the war broke out, Oleksandr enlisted in the Ukrainian army to defend his country, joining the 24th Mechanized Brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine in March 2022. During his service, he was severely injured in combat in the Luhansk region when he stepped on a landmine. Doctors were unable to save the soldier's leg. Gangrene set in, and the limb had to be fully amputated after a complicated surgery. With the support of the Future for Ukraine Charity Foundation, Oleksandr underwent prosthetics and rehabilitation at the Orthotics and Prosthetics Medical Center in Washington, USA. Thanks to this, he feels less and less of the pain that used to be his daily companion in recent months. After 10 months, Oleksandr was finally able to return to his favorite activity, teaching choreography to children. Despite the severe injury, Oleksandr Chaika says he never regretted going to the front line. Anton Ivanciv, a 40-year-old resident of Cherkasy, was a successful sales manager. He was also a happy family man, raising 2 daughters. On February 24, 2022, Anton Ivanciv was on his way to work, just like any other normal day. But upon learning that Russia was invading his country, he immediately went to the military committee. Anton had no military experience, but he couldn't just stand by and do nothing. Anton Ivanciv enlisted, and after training he served at checkpoints. Then there was dirt, blood, and the horrors of war in the east of the country. In May 2023, Anton's unit was transferred to Bakhmut, the deadliest place on the front. One day, Anton Ivanciv was on a reconnaissance mission in Bakhmut with another comrade from the 5th Assault Unit when he was hit by a large explosion caused by a mine. The explosion resulted in the immediate loss of an arm and a leg. Anton lost a lot of blood, but his chest remained intact, though his helmet was blown off his head and his bulletproof vest was broken. He was rescued under intense enemy fire by members of the International Legion and his unit comrades and taken to Mechnikov Hospital in Dnipro in critical condition. There was almost no blood left in his body, and the doctors were astonished by the severity of his injuries. He underwent several blood transfusions, totaling more than 8 liters, and went into a coma. The doctors had to amputate his second arm to save his life. Anton Ivanciv survived and is now in the process of rehabilitation, adjusting to his new reality with the help of bionic prosthetics and psychological support. Daniel Gurliani has been involved in sports since elementary school, primarily focusing on Greco-Roman wrestling. Daniel was a die-hard supporter of FC Dynamo Kiev. He enrolled at the National University of Law in Kharkiv in the Faculty of Prosecution, where he graduated in 2022. When the war started, Daniel Gurliani was in Kharkiv, where he had just defended his master's thesis a few days earlier. He joined the armed forces and participated in the defense of Kyiv, and was among those who found the body of his friend and teammate, Denis "Stalker" Rachinsky, after a Russian rocket struck the Retroville shopping center. Following this tragedy, he decided to join the Azov Battalion, where he proved to be a worthy and brave warrior. He was given the call sign Himalaya. On June 3, 2022, Daniel Himalaya Gurliani was killed in combat after being hit by Russian artillery in the Zaporizhia region. He was 25 years old. Eric Vargas, a native of Maryland, always dreamed of pursuing a military career, and after high school, he enlisted in the United States Marine Corps, where he served with honor. When Russia invaded Ukraine, he joined the International Legion for the defense of Ukraine to fight against the invaders. Eric Vargas believed that enjoying freedoms without any responsibility is a terrible way to live. Eric found an inner strength in Ukraine that he thought did not exist when he had to sleep under freezing rain, or when Russian artillery fell near his position. He witnessed several foreign volunteers come up with the most elaborate excuses to go back home, but Eric never thought about giving up. Eric Vargas was injured when a 152mm Russian shell fell 2 yards away from him and his comrades. The explosion left many injured and burst his left eardrum and broke his arm, in addition to being wounded by shrapnel. Even wounded, Eric Vargas did not want to be evacuated with the other injured because a fighter had become separated from the group during the bombardment. At that moment, Max Panavo, another legionnaire who was almost unconscious due to his injuries, also decided to go with Eric. They walked about 1,000 yards to the east, found the lost soldier, and together they headed for shelter. After recovering from his injuries, Eric Vargas returned to the front and was killed in combat on November 15, 2023. He was 35 years old. If you enjoyed this video, you will also like this video I'm recommending, which is appearing on your screen now. Leave your opinion in the video comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more informative content. See you next time.